For today's session, we're going to discuss rules of engagement. And this is continuing with the initial theme on the topic of spirituality. I want you to pay close attention because these are some interesting navigational rules that may help set everything apart in your life. I indicated there were no spiritual rules of navigation when exploring life on Earth. Well, sort of. There are, however, factors that optimize life when you understand fundamental universal principles. Throughout Earth's history, guidelines have been presented to help provide rules of engagement within the framework of a particular tribe, village, or civilization. Long before any knowledge of written works, life has been depicted through etchings on cave walls, symbols on rock faces, or any other available pictorial medium. The first known written history seems to have originated in Mesopotamia, around 3200 BC. Since then, important texts have documented cultural life and provided guidelines to the inhabitants of that cultural and era. Traditional documents continue to present guidance that can be applied to modern-day living. Many holy texts have been written to provide documentation of ancient life. Laws of behavior were constructed designed to provide steerage for that era's inhabitants. The Christian Bible issued a series of commandments designed to promote civil stability amongst communities of the day. Consider this fact. There have been over 30,000 changes made to the original version of the King James Bible over centuries. Rulers of the day interjected their personal reflections, compromising the original translations. Books were added, books were removed, and books were edited to reflect the personal beliefs of the ruler du jour. Translations were reconfigured, and the direction intended now resembles a confusion of the original text. It might be interesting to note that many of the original 10 Commandments were adapted from some of the 613 mitzvahs established to provide guidance for the ancient Hebrews, and these were included in the Jewish Torah. I'm going to remind you of the traditional 10 Commandments, and then present you with a set of covenants that might reflect a more modern interpretation for the cultural era in which we now reside. In 2017, I wrote an interesting work, The New Covenants, which is now available on Amazon, not only to provide a revision to the current 10 Commandments, but to provide my readers with an understanding of the history at the time of their creation. I also wanted to present an exploration into why each commandment might have been issued. For reference, here are the original 10 Commandments. Just listen. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt bring no false idols before me. Do not take the name of the Lord in vain. Keep holy the Sabbath. Honor your father and your mother. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And thou shalt not covet. These were the guidelines presented to a civilization eons ago. And these rules of life still represent sound life guidance, but might need some tweaking. I suspect, with a deeper interpretation surrounding the reasons for the issuance of these rules of engagement, one might lend themselves to revise a modern version from the original commandments. For your consideration, here are some potential options. There is one omnipresent source. One is all there is. There is a message of oneness in the first commandment, one God. And as we live within the great hemisphere of our evolving world, we are all connected by a universal matrix of unity, whose truest foundation is love. While many areas across the globe remain divided in belief systems, there is a general undertone of tolerance and cooperation. There is no land of Egypt to exit, but there are still lands of bondage, of slavery, where hunger exists, where there is oppression, and where there is poverty, all needing an exodus. It is unfortunate we are still engaged in war, and that there are those who still know oppression. How many turn to faith and prayer when confronted with an overwhelming life challenge? How many have received the guidance from an inexplicable source that seems to manifest just at the appropriate moment? Such is the source of faith in an omnipresent energy. If you knew you were connected to every living thing, would you conduct your life differently? That was covenant number 1. Covenant number 2. Commit no murder. The original commandment is steadfast. Covenant number 3. What you do to another, you do to yourself. This is the accountability, ouch, that might make you think twice before engaging in any untoward activity. Be cautious of your thoughts. Thoughts create your living world. The Bible states, thought generates the energy that determines light frequency. There is a profound universal principle here that indicates anything can change. While your current life situation may seem hopeless, with a little positive thinking, some research into your life elements and how you could potentially make things better, anything can change. Covenant number 5. Words carry vibration. Choose the words you use wisely. Our planetary design is based on the principles of thought. Thought amplified by emotion and creative focus that translates into the energy systems that become the living matrix of our physical design. Utilizing words that lower your own vibration seems counterintuitive. It is beneficial to maintain a higher vibration to insulate you from lower vibrational influences. We're going to explore this in depth in our next podcast, so stay tuned. Covenant number 6. Honor the Earth Mother and the Sun Father. Let's recall the original commandment, honor thy father and mother. While obeying one's parents seems important, I believe indigenous cultures knew of a more accurate interpretation. The earth receives her energy cues from the sun, and the molten core of our incredible planet is responsible for the generation of the land on which we all reside. Without the sun's rays, the life upon earth would perish. Without the regenerative forces of nature, we might not have a planet to reside upon. Covenant number 7. Live your life in love. This revelation is one all should strive to participate in. Within universal design reside the 2 main components that define our living matrix, love and light. Light is refracted energy measured on waves of density and composition. From the Bible, what is darkness? 'Tis but the absence of light. And what is light? 'Tis but the breath of God, vibrating in the rhythm of rapid thought. So all energy factors are derivative from these two principles. Covenant number 8. To judge another is to judge yourself. Well, this one's a wallop. While I might add a confusing truth to the universal principle, I'll also provide a little explanation why I included it within a modernized set of guidelines. Through the eyes of the universe, there is no judgment. Ask yourself then, how critical are you of your actions? There you go. When we see what we consider to be a flaw in another, perhaps we are seeing a flaw within ourselves. And another fact of reality, every individual will conduct their own life review when they re-enter their spiritual domain. This is a private, self-conducted review where you will be able to witness everyone you've hurt and everyone you've helped. Covenant number 9. You are accountable for all your actions. And this covenant is huge. Not only are you accountable for the emotional imprint you create with another, the ramifications from your actions may return to bite you. It's all those unforeseen interactions you might have overlooked. And should you think that your thoughts don't count when considering your actions, thoughts are things. Better to act less in haste and more in consideration of all the factors that might have led to the untoward desire for action. I might also provide you some peace of mind here. For all who have offended, harmed, created devastation in your life, there is accountability. And by no means am I indicating here that you should not protect yourself, set boundaries of acceptable behavior, but when all else fails, know with absolute certainty that all actions are accountable. And from the Bible, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Covenant number 10. To forgive is to be forgiven. Without forgiveness, we cannot traverse our daily lives without some reverence. We've all made mistakes. We've all thought we should do something over. But without forgiveness, who are we? Covenant number 11. Live life in gratitude, in grace. I'm sure you could provide your own revisions, but if you are curious to explore the more in-depth reasoning behind not only the original 10 Commandments, but the New Covenants, you may desire to obtain a copy of the New Covenants. Continued Universal Principles of Navigation. You knew there were going to be other fundamental universal spiritual guidelines that need to be understood if we, as a human family, are to explore life with less compromise. Life is eternal. All are soul travelers experiencing life in some learning dimension, accumulating mountains of wisdom that quite literally all are providing to an omnipresent collective. How one experiences life is largely dependent on several factors. 1, an individual belief system. 2, the choices made during any life voyage. I'm sure you can provide your own revisions, but these may provide you with further thought. There are additional universal principles of navigation that are fundamental universal spiritual guidelines that need to be understood if we, as a human family, are to explore life with less compromise. Life is eternal. All are soul travelers experiencing life in some learning dimension, accumulating mountains of wisdom that quite literally are all providing to an omnipresent collective. How one experiences life is largely dependent on several factors. 1, an individual belief system. 2, the choices made during any life voyage. 3, the contract one makes with their spiritual designer before entering a physical life. And 4, the creative direction applied. All return to a spiritual dimension upon physical departure, but life renews with exploration into another adventure, soon to be determined. Now that you have some background and perhaps a new direction in thought, there are fundamental universal guidelines that will apply to everyone's rules of life engagement on Earth. In addition to the factors that determine how one experiences physical life, consider these revelations. Everything you do in life matters. How you live your life will largely determine how you experience life in spirit. Another fundamental life governance factor is a relatively new energy module that was established in 2011. This is the year that determined the new course of life on Earth. What factor presented that would present this new life guideline? It was actually the overwhelming human consciousness shift that put this factor into play. You see, we all decided to play a little nicer together. Nothing that is out of a vibrational match with the life you should be living can remain. This means that if you are working in a field that is no longer in alignment with your energy design, you are most likely experiencing incompatibility with your job. The same is true for any relationship that no longer is complementary to your energy field. This revelation might also find you in the process of relocation. If your current living environment isn't compatible with your living frequency, you're most likely on the move. So if you notice any disruption in your life, this is the energy rule that is creating new opportunity for you to experience a life that is much more compatible and much more harmonious with your living design. Universal design is unbiased. There is no judgment, no emotional attachment, but there is a process through learning. Manifestation is a creative soup with the ingredients composed of thought. The physical matrix of the earth is a world of free choice laced with opposing energy frequencies that include positive and negative ingredients. Whichever positive or negative ideation you focus on the most is the manifestation that appears first. The magic in the formula is that changing the thought to a more positively oriented focus will change the frequency and the energy you are projecting and begin to magnetize more optimal experiences to you. For a moment, let's consider a new universal design. You can now begin to see why the ancient directives from long ago play such an important part in the direction mankind is taking today. The universe is responding to the new direction of our conscious projections. Humanity can build a new living template on which to experience life, or it can remain stagnant in patterns from our past. What will a new vision for the world you wish to live in represent? A new vision would find our global neighbors working hand in hand to solve our problems. Here are some preferred visions to focus upon. See if any resonate within the world direction of your own design. Will you create a world where harmonious interaction with all neighbors can exist? Will you choose peace over war? Will you live in a world where no child goes hungry and knows no fear or hatred? Will you live where governing bodies would serve their constituents with decisions made for the good of all? Will you live in a world where equality exists for all humankind? Will you create a world that is dedicating to providing for all its inhabitants, working to restore balance to Earth's resources, and to preserve all life upon her? Will you create a world where freedom exists to express one's uniqueness without fear of condemnation? Will you create a world where nations work together to feed and shelter their inhabitants? Will you create a world where great minds collaborate to provide new technology and healing intervention so all can experience life innovations? In the Bible, it states, "There are many mansions of God." From the King James Version, John 14:2. In my mansion, there are many houses. I'd like to paint a picture of our expansive universe, a universe that resides under the mansion of God. Every planet, star, nebula, and all undetectable spaces in between reside within this mansion. Every living thing resides within this mansion. Every particle and thought resides within this temple. You are a child, a manifestation of God, and you reside within God's house. Thank you for joining me on today's session. You will find an Amazon link to the New Covenants in the details of this episode should you decide to explore more. Bye for now.